Okay, welcome everyone. We'll start our lesson 3. Today lesson will go through LO3. As you know me, my name is Anjum Sattar. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anjum@university.co.uk and I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, we'll start. Okay, thanks for joining. Those just joined. Okay, so today lesson key focus will be about LO3, which is about understand how to gather the evidence. So in audit, evidence is very, very important and it's quite crucial to get evidence. Evidence need to be reliable, up to date, and achieve our objective when you completing the assurance engagement. Yes, so evidence here. So during our last two lessons, we have audit assurance. We discuss about audit risk. We discuss about inherent risk. We discuss about control risk, and overall these leads to audit risk. Then we discuss about different types of assurance. We discuss about internal control. Internal control, that was in our last lesson. We discuss about various control. We had a discussion about the cash control. We had a discussion about inventory control. We have a discussion about how the computerized accounting records can be controlled and the password and all segregation of the DP was a key discussion, and those which we had already in our discussion. We'll start now. Okay, so please, how much you know about internal control and assurance? So scale 1 to 10, always good to be reflect how much you already know about audit and assurance. And in audit, assurance is very, very important, and thus we give the positive assurance. Okay, so auditors never give the absolute assurance based on the so auditors can give the assurance based on the evidence. So evidence is very important, which is today lesson really focus. So assurance process and the techniques, which will be in our discussion, which will go through how we can give the assurance planning. We can look around the sampling, testing, computer assisted assurance technique, the assurance control, not for profit organization, stages, planning, collecting appropriate evidence, and qualification, quality of reports, and impact of the legal, the responsibility. That all will be in our discussion. So today lesson indicative content discuss the reason of the preparing the document in assurance engagement. Of course, you're working on the ACTA that has the agent on the behalf of the shareholders of the company. So you have to best, provide true and fair information and audit evidence, which is a statutory requirement by all public limited company. Their account should be audited. So in previous lesson, we learn about what is the audit. A type of assurance engagement is carried out by auditors to give an independent opinion on the set of financial statements. So the requirement, we can look around the Company Act 2006, all the companies to have an audit. Small company turnover 10.2 million, asset is 5.1 million, implies less than 50. So those are exempt. Other than that, they have to do audit. Dominant company listed entities like bank assurance, whether standard alone or the part of the group, cannot be exempt, which we can look at. A detail required to produce a report to the shareholder and must be expressed the opinion whether the financial statement according with the applicable financial reporting framework and properly prepared, which is we can look around give true and fair information. True and fair information, that's quite crucial, which we need to be look around. So anybody, any question here, please, if you have? Yes, no question. Let's move to the next. Okay, then we had the assurance engagement. Assurance engagement, we can look around. So we can look around the So that's quite crucial, which we need to be look around the assurance and the assurance engagement. So we had a discussion in the previous lesson. Reasonable assurance is a high level assurance, limited assurance. Editors give the assurance that the financial statement are prepared in line with this uh, our accounting standard and audit standard, and we can give the assurance, so true and fair information. So when is looking the accountability, cover a range of issues and discuss under the title of the corporate governance. So editors can look around the how the companies control and run financial statement, profile warning. We can look around the going concern disclosures, director accountability, investment protection, internal control, and the risk policies. But those are in place in the organization. Assurance provisions, we can look around the communications needed. Directors required to produce financial statements, give true and fair views, and encourage to communicate with the shareholders. And now it's becoming more important as the stakeholders. Going concern mean the business will carry on as a normal management of risk. Risk is mean probabilities. Your internal control system uh, have ability to investigate and reduce the risk of these, so assurance provisions, assurance engagement. We can look around the professional account and evaluates, measures subject matters, and the on the basis of the subject criteria express opinion and give the level of assurance. Okay, so today we are looking more about the evidence, how we can collect evidence. Evidence is very, very crucial in audit. So secretary audit is the non-secretary audit. We can look around the purpose of the audit to give an opinion on the financials solely to reports, the shareholders. Secretary audit is required with the Company Act 2006. Auditors can give the opinion on other statements. Advantages of the non-secretary audit, for example, setting accounting in the partnership account more acceptable to the tax authorities for the sales of the business and negotiation loan. So review audit gives the level of assurance. Review states anything coming to the attention of the editors and the focus materiality that accounts may not give the true and fair. Less details than the audit, less assurance obtained. Internal audit employed by the organization and the part of the internal control responsibility determined by the management and help management to carry out the duty. That's which we can look around. Trust and fairness, which we can editors give the opinion on the trust and the fairness, factual and the free from the bias and reflect the commercial substance. Transaction, not opinion to be obsolete correctness, and we can look around these on the basis of. Okay, so limitation audit in assurance, there is a limitation of the audit. Auditing is not objective, is a judgmental, have to be made. Not all the item in the financial statement are tested. Limitation in the accounting and the control record. Audit reports are the inherently, and audit reports is issued in the long time after the balance sheet date. So audit as evidence sometimes is indicate what is probably or not certain. So when we're looking at the evidence, please, we need to be three areas for more. We need to be really focused, sufficient. The evidence you getting is sufficient to draw your opinion. Those are appropriate evidence must be necessary, the quality both relevant and reliable. The relevant evidence is required that the enable editors to draw the conclusion about the financial statement assertion, and auditors should consider the source and its reliability, written and external and internal. Sufficient, determine the factors materiality of the item, explain a detailed knowledge and the judgment. Okay, transaction event. So when we looking the audit of the transaction, we look the occurrence when the transaction happened. We look the complete, we look the accuracy, we look the cutoff dates, we look the classification it being clustered as asset, expense, and presentation in shape of the financial statement. Account balancing, existence, rights, obligation, completeness, accuracy, valuation, allocation, classification, and presentation also very important. So when we're looking in audit evidence, so analytical procedures, inquiry, external confirmation, inspection of the document, observation, and we can look around the recalculation and the performance, AEIOU, which is very important. Look around all these evidence. Expert, so we can look around a detail of obtain the sufficient evidence, a detail assess, whether they're expert, competent, and independent to the client, nature and the scope of the work agreed with the expert. We can assess, appropriateness of their exemption. We look the audit must be evaluate the findings. We can look around, assess the consistencies, the evidence, and consider. That's which is we need to be look around. Okay, so please, when we looking, although the objective of the internal and external audit different and the objective obtain similar, so we can look around auditors must obtain the sufficient understanding about the function, and then they can plan, so evaluation of the function, internal audit, scope of internal audit function, technical competencies, internal audit, and due professional care, that being done. Evaluation of the work, sufficient appropriate evidence, and conclusion is valid and properly supervised and viewed. So test of data, so we can auditors some collect the data of the sample and test it, the transaction dummy data in the system, control system is work, the valid the data should be accepted, invalid data should be rejected. Software specially designed the audit purpose, it's issues selecting, and sample checking, comparison, computation, performance, analytical review, all need to be okay. As we discussed earlier in materiality, the word materiality means significant. All the significant information, those are included in the both quantitative and qualitative aspect in the financial statement. Level of assurance, which we discuss, reasonable assurance, negative assurance, agreed upon the procedure, no assurance. So we can look around no assurance based on the report. Audit acceptance and planning, the risk, the materiality and the nature of the work and timing. Look around the internal control, substantive and compliance testing. So we can look around different accounting standards and different audit standards, those are complied. So audit completion, including going concern, analytical procedure, reporting, and order acceptance, annual, those we can look around at the responses to the risk. So overall, the representation and the responses, test of control, substantial procedures, a detail must obtain sufficient, appropriate, evidence on which, the base their audit opinion, affected the reliability of the evidence, and consider who generated it. And that's very crucial, which we need to be look around. Test of control, that's which we can look around the design of the system capable preventing, detecting the misstatement operations, have they existed, and operated in the properly in the period. We can look around the role of control. We can look around operating effectively, performance testing of control, and obtain the sufficient, appropriate, audit evidence. Okay, substantial procedures. We can look around auditors are seeking to the substantial create, assertion made, known as financial statement, which we had a discussion in our lesson 2 in internal control as well, analytical procedure, inquiry, external specification, inspection, observation, recalculation, and performance. Those are quite crucial, which we need to be look around. So analytical procedure. So as a detailed analysis of the relationship between the data and the relevant information, we look the risk assessment and analytical procedures must be used in the risk, assessment procedures. We can look around the analytical procedures include the comparison of the year's financial information with the similar information for the prior period. We can look around the analytical result and the budget. We can look around the industry's information, elements of the financial information which is expected to control, and the links between financial and non-financial information. So we can look around the risk assessment procedures, substantial procedures, which is reliable, relevant, and available. And the basis of this, we can draw the conclusion. Okay, so overview, which we can look around, analytical procedure must also be used to ensure the financial statement seems reasonable We can look around significant fluctuation and fluctuation. So make inquiries, consider the management response in the light of the knowledge, and carried out additionally the audit procedure. So we can look around the practical technique, accounting ratios, payable, purchasable, different ledgers, non-current asset registers, intangible loans. All these can be tested, and the auditors can draw their opinion based on all these. So other is very important in audit to collecting evidence. A sample must be chosen. So applying the audit procedures, less than 100% the item in the population, and tolerable misstatement, the maximum amount of the misstatement population, the details will accept two types of the sampling, so, which we can look around the statistical sampling technique, random selection of the item, non-statical, or maybe you look 10, 20, 50 transactions using the professional judgment, collecting the evidence. Okay, the size, consider the risk, and expectation misstatement, greater reliability than the result, and the control if the internal control system is properly in place. A randomly item is equal chance of selection. Systematic doesn't, the interval between, and happens, which we can look around the coding against the bias, selection. So evaluation editors, must, analyze the misstatement. It says qual qualitative and quantitative misstatements should be considered the nature of the misstatement of the balance, and intrapolated against which is the balance of the population. How much is the percentage, that's not matched with the evidence which we have, So computer aided design, of course, nowadays audit software which we can use to check the details, otherwise had to do by hand. We can look around analytical procedures is used. We can look around the test of the data, checking whether the system are operating properly, feed the system some of the data and see the process, and the data may be valid, invalid, which we can look around the validity in. We can look around integrated testing facilities, whether the permanent testing environment or the database. Okay, so we have a ISA, which is International Standard and Assurance 500, sufficient appropriate evidence. Audit evidence need to be sufficient, appropriate, audit evidence in the reasonable conclusion, objective, express opinion, true and fair. Audit evidence information obtained from arrived at the conclusion of the report. Evidence can be informed the test of the control of substantial procedures, including detail and the classes of the transaction and account balances and disclosure. That's all we need to be look around to draw that. So when we're looking the financial statement assertions, representation made by the director approving that the financial statement directors are making the representation about the information they obtain embodied in the financial. So transaction event from, so we can look around the trends, the completeness, accuracy, cut-off base, and classification. Accounting balances, which we can look around existence, the right and obligation, completeness, valuation, allocation. Presentation of the declare acceleration, rights, completeness, classification, accuracy, and valuation. That's which we can look around. So audit procedures, inspection of the audit, which we can look around the of the asset. Asset mean anything you own, which will flow the future, and current and non-current assets, which we can look around in these. So we need to be look around the transactional balances. We look the test of the data, the balances, completeness, internal control, and substantial analytical procedures we need. Audit sampling, of course, under ISA 530, audit sampling, another means of testing, determine the appropriate mean of selecting items. So that's, the sample size, considering the risk of the control of the test, that can be. So we need to be over reliant or under reliant. So we have a reasonable judgment, acceptable, and determine the objective of the population, sample size. All these are the quite crucial. So we have to look around the working papers of the details and perform IS30 documentation, which we can look around in audit. So sufficient appropriate evidence must obtain, test of control, reliability, audit testing design, fulfill audit assertion, and less than 100% evidence usually obtained, and all audit work must be completed. And then we can look around in terms of the audit, please. So audit opinion can be draw evidence Those are sufficient, appropriate, relevant, reliable. When we're looking evidence, the nature, the source of evidence, the test of control, those being done to extend the sampling. We can look around timing, interim is final, and computer aided design, testing, audit, and assurance that can be used. So please, I have included the link for you for further reading. If you have any question, you can drop me email anjum@ukversity.co.uk, and I'll try my best, get back to you as soon as possible. Anybody, any question, please? No question. So that's really we need to be look around, and that's quite crucial, which we need to be complete. Or and audit evidence is very, very crucial, and the evidence need to be appropriate, sufficient, reliable, and appropriate. Those are the keywords really we need to be focused. And thanks for attending. And next lesson we'll go through LO4, and then we'll go through the assignment discussion. Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. Thanks for attending. Bye bye.